I've been playing Lies of P for the last couple days, and honestly, this is probably the best Souls-like we've ever got in the genre. Yes, there are very good contenders such as Nioh 2, Wolong, and even The Surge 2, but this game is on a whole other level. The attention to detail in the environment, the combat, everything feels like you're almost playing a From Software game. And the fact that this was made by a brand new studio is amazing and very encouraging for where the gaming industry is going. Even though we have mega corporations that are doing dumb cash grabs like Call of Duty that are just reskins every single year, it's really nice to see a breath of fresh air and a brand new studio actually putting in passion into their work. And it really shows in the game. So first, let's talk about the combat. When I first started to play Lies of P, it reminded me of another game where I was controlling a puppet that is dealing with a puppet apocalypse, and that is Steel Rising. Although that game was good, it was a solid attempt, it was also forgettable. The combat never felt like you were playing a true Souls-like, and there was just something off. That is not the case here with Lies of P. The combat feels slow and methodical, just like Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. If I would have to compare it to something, I would say it's like a hybrid between Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne. And they take a lot of good elements from Bloodborne, such as the regain mechanic. When you block an attack, you will lose some health, but you're able to regain it if you follow up with an attack of your own. And then they also take inspiration from Sekiro, where if you do a perfect block, the timing is hard to get, that's 100% true, but it is rewarding because you will not take any damage. And even though the bar is hidden, you will add posture damage to your enemy. I've been able to posture break some enemies only by doing perfect blocks. So it takes a little bit of time to get used to this game, but it is a lot of fun. And that's not even the best features yet. Honestly, my favorite feature is the weapon combination system. Now, most weapons are dismantleable, where you can detach the handle and the tip of the weapon to make entirely new weapon combinations. And at first, I wasn't using this feature, I was just using the standard weapon. Early on in the game, I found an electric baton that reminded me of Tonitrus in Bloodborne, so I was using that for a while. But then I found this massive wrench that I thought sucked ass. I didn't like it at all. But when I decided to remove the tip of the wrench and to attach a blade to it, it turned into an Odachi that had a completely different moveset. And that is the weapon that I'm using up until now. The fact that you can combine weapon parts to fit your playstyle is so unique. I haven't seen that in other games. So I think we can all agree that even though Lies of P is borrowing a lot of ideas from Bloodborne and Dark Souls, it's also bringing a lot of their own ideas to the table. And the next thing we're going to talk about is the Legion Arm, which is another combat mechanic. So the Legion Arm is what you'll use in your offhand. It is a robotic arm, kind of similar to what Sekiro has, but you will be able to change it into multiple different functionalities. At first, it's just a metal arm where you can smack people with. Then you have an electric discharge. You have a grapple hook that can bring enemies closer to you, kind of like a hook shot. And you can also turn it into a flamethrower, a shield, or all sorts of other advantageous tools that you can use in combat. Now, talking about combat for a second, I want to talk about the difficulty. I would say that this game is in the difficulty level of a regular Souls-like, such as Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2. It is very hard, but it's also very rewarding once you overcome the challenge. And that's why I would strongly recommend not to use the NPC summons. Because I was fighting this scrapped watchman for quite some time, and he was kicking my ass, and I decided, why not just use an NPC summon? You know, just to give me a slight edge in battle. And after the first fight with the NPC, I was able to beat the Watchman without any significant challenge. So I kind of felt robbed of it, but that's okay, it was my choice. And for the next playthrough, which I am restarting a playthrough and I'll tell you why in just a moment, I will definitely not use any of the summons because the bosses are not insanely hard. It's not like Ishin, Sekiro type bosses where you need perfect timing every single way. They don't do that much damage, but they are pretty tanky, so you have to be consistent and use all the mechanics that are available to you. Now let's talk about the RPG systems and the leveling mechanics. If you've played any Souls-like, you'll be very familiar with what is in front of you. Vitality is your health, vigor is your stamina, capacity is how much weight you can carry, motivity is your strength, technique is your dexterity, and advance governs your elemental damage. Now, it's very simple. You get souls from enemies. If you die, you have to pick up your souls. But there is an interesting quality of life feature here that you will know how much souls are at risk because it will tell you at the top right. So I would expect to die quite a bit in this game. It is a challenging game, but it's also so much fun. And what I really like is that everything is customizable. You have P organs, which are passive abilities. Your weapons can be upgraded with the hilt separated from the blade. You also have your arm that can be upgraded. On top of that, you have a grinder that is used to repair your weapon during combat. That can be altered to add some magical damage to your weapons. So there is so much here. The handle can be customized to specialize into skill or strength. Honestly, it seems like a lot at first, but when you fully understand all the mechanics, you will realize that what you have in your hands is a true, proper Souls-like action RPG. Now let's talk about performance for a little bit. I was thrilled with the quality of the product and how it came out on launch day. I'm playing on a PS5. I had exactly 0 crashes. The game runs at a steady frame rate, and the textures, everything looks proper. It looks detailed. It really looks like they paid a lot of attention to make this world believable. I didn't see the textures loading in. There's no graphical issues at all that I've noticed on the PS5. Now, I can't speak for other versions, but I can assure you that on the PS5, this game runs like a charm. The music is really decent. I love the theme that's playing when you are in Krat Hotel. And when you are fighting the bosses, there are some very Dark Souls-esque music. So they did put a lot of attention to detail to the music as well as the graphical elements. Now, what's interesting about this game is that they also have pretty decent level design. I will admit that it's not as interconnected as Dark Souls. It kind of feels more like a Demon Souls type of thing where you go into an area that is on its own, and that area by itself has a lot of shortcuts and a lot of things to explore. There are secrets everywhere in every nook and cranny, and you are rewarded if you take some time to actually explore the environments. And the environments themselves look very different from one another. If you reach chapter 4, you will see a beautiful scenery that is very different than what you've seen in the previous chapters. Altogether, this game is fantastic. I was not expecting it to be this solid and this polished. I'm gonna say that I'm pleasantly surprised. To be honest, I don't think there's a better Souls-like out there, in my opinion, for my preference. Nioh 2, Wolong are extremely good, but the level design, the combat, everything just feels right with Lies of P. To be honest, I've looked online, I've seen some criticism, but I really don't have any about this game. I just think that it's such a strong game that there's not really anything negative here. I wasn't bored at any point. I never felt like the game was unfair or too challenging, too hard. So honestly, I don't have anything negative about this game. If I were to give it a score, it would be in the high 90s, that's for damn sure. And it really makes me optimistic for the future of the Souls-like genre, because it started with a little bit of a blunder with Lords of the Fallen, and now just with this generation of new Souls-like, you're seeing developers putting out extremely high quality games with a lot of passion into it. So it is very encouraging to see where this genre of the gaming market is going. But then again, all of this is just my opinion. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section. Are there any points in my video that you disagree with? I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy videos like this one, and I'll see you guys on the next one.